Now we're going to start off the formal presentation of tracking Maximo issues and enhancements using Maximo. Just a little bit about myself. My name is Michael Marcel. I'm with Ontrax Consulting and have been with Ontrax for approximately 3 years. Over this time, I've been engaged with IT responsibilities for over 18 years in various capacities. And actually now 7 years, I've been focusing in around Maximo Asset Management, the Maximo Industry Solutions, as well as the IT components of the Maximo product set called the IBM Smart Cloud Control Desk, or now IBM Control Desk. Here's my contact information. Again, I will display this contact information in the presentation as well. So today's agenda is, why do you want to track issues and or enhancements in Maximo? We'll do a demonstration of the capabilities that can be used, or one method of implementing such a solution using Maximo. And then after the demonstration, we'll actually go through and we'll talk about the different configurations that need to happen in order to make this work. Again, as we go through these configurations, we'll talk about some tips and tricks through these various applications. So why would an organization want to track Maximo issues and enhancements inside of Maximo? Well, the first thing is Maximo, as many of you may know, includes a service request application. This service request application is part of the core Maximo platform, as well as many of the industry solutions. So this is really the first step in allowing organizations to track issues that a user may have. Now, it doesn't necessarily need to be specific to Maximo, but in the purpose of this demonstration today, we're going to use it from the Maximo-only purposes. IT organizations can extend this capability to manage other IT types of issues that you may have. Why not use Maximo to support Maximo? Again, Maximo is a platform that is currently used today from an enterprise asset management, maintenance management, operations perspective, and why not use the same solution that you use for work orders to a maintenance technician or an operator from an IT perspective and managing the issues that may occur day to day with the Maximo solution. Many of you may not know that Maximo includes limited self-service licenses. So with these licenses, you are able to leverage the license that you get with Maximo. So we will actually demonstrate how this can be used today from an end user perspective in submitting and or viewing their requests. If you're an existing Maximo customer, which many of you are, you probably already have a team of administrators that understand the Maximo process automation engine and the Maximo configuration tools, from application designer to workflow to classifications and other administrative type tools. So you can leverage the exact same skill sets to manage these Maximo issues. And if need be, Maximo provides, and the Maximo integration framework provides the ability to integrate to other systems. And so if you have an existing help desk system in your environment, there is a possibility to integrate with those systems. If you are considering Maximo for your IT help desk, then you may want to consider the IBM Control Desk solution, which is built off of the Maximo platform. It addresses the IT components specifically around ITIL, and this is considered an industry solution or an add-on to the existing Maximo platform. We're not going to go into the Control Desk function today, but we may have a Control Desk webcast similar to this in the near future. If you're interested, please let us know. So what would constitute a Maximo issue or enhancement? So in many organizations, they track issues related to software. This can be anything from receiving an error message. For those that are familiar with Maximo, that might be a BMX AA message followed by a 4-digit number and then a suffix with an E or an I for error or informational. Or a user may need access to an application or field that they can't see, but maybe their colleague can see, and this needs to be addressed through possibly a security configuration change. In a lot of organizations, they have new users that are being added to the system and or removed, and why not use, again, Maximo to track those additions or subtractions in the Maximo system. In some cases, you may have a job plan or a PM that's defined on asset records. or it may be missing, and so therefore a user wants to report that. Those are just some examples of Maximo issues. What an enhancement might be is a user is looking to add a new field or a new tab that may be related to an existing business process or a new process that needs to be defined in the system. So we're trying to capture these, identify these, rate these, and move them into a production environment. A user may want to modify and enhance an existing record. So as you know, in Maximo, you may have a job plan record or a PM record, and they want to modify maybe the tasks on those job plans or the labor materials used, and therefore how do you capture or collect that feedback so that an administrator can perform those changes. So again, a Maximo enhancement can be used to track that. And or you have a new business process in the organization or a new line of business that wants to leverage Maximo, and they can submit that enhancement, and then therefore it can be reviewed, rated, and or implemented inside of the Maximo solution. So those are just some of the examples. This is not limited to this particular scenario. We'll go through a scenario today of issuing a Maximo issue, and depending on the time, we may also do an enhancement. So with that, I'm going to jump into a demonstration of the Maximo solution, and then we'll go from there. So hopefully everyone is seeing my my browser here, and so I've got the standard login. So the first person that I'm going to log in today is an end user in the system, and in my case it is John Smith. John Smith, like any other user in Maximo, will log in and have their Start Center displayed. Now, this is just a generic Start Center that we're using. John Smith happens to be an engineer, so he's seeing the engineering Start Center. And the changes that we've made or that we're going to focus on today is in the top left-hand corner, whereby we are using the Quick Insert portlet type. And in here we can see that we have a couple of different Quick Insert record types. So in this particular organization, we are using the Create Service Request, which is the ability for end users to submit a self-service request. We have applied a ticket template to these, and we're using or leveraging the exact same method to record an IT request, a work request from an EAM perspective, or tracking a Maximo issue or enhancement. If we click on the Maximo issue, or if I click on any of these quick inserts, what that will do is apply a ticket template. The ticket template will pre-fill some of the information on the screen for me. In this case, the out-of-the-box pre-filled information is the reported by email and reported by user. So we can see that here. And this particular screen, this Create Service Request screen, has actually been modified. This is not the out-of-the-box one. It's been slightly modified to display some additional information. If we know what the asset is or the location, we have the ability to do that, but it's not mandatory. We do have the ability, though, to identify the priority of the issue. We could actually hard code the priority of the issue to be a specific priority so that users do not have to fill that in. But in this particular case, we allow the users to fill that information in. The next section that you'll see here is what is the description of the issue that we are encountering. So in this case, maybe let's just say that the job plan needs revised or includes some new tasks. Another one might be I don't have access to the job plan application. So let's actually use that. Okay. I have the ability to put in some additional details. So if the issue was maybe a error code or some other type of information, I could include that information in here to help the person that's going to be receiving this ticket make an informed decision. Down below, we then have some question and answers. And for most people, what this is that are familiar with Maximo is using the specifications. So we basically just relabeled this section to questions and answers. We relabeled the attribute to question and the response, which is actually the description, to response. In here, based on the issue being created, we have a number of questions. So each one of these are going to perform some different capabilities, and we'll talk about those. So in this case, on the Maximo application, you'll notice that the response has a select value. So in this case, we have provided domain lookup that will list a number of different applications that the user can select from. Now, these fields are not all mandatory, and the user does not need to select them, but what this helps by creating a domain list such like this is from a reporting perspective and standardization. So at the end of the year or on a 6-month basis, you can run a report to see how many issues have been related to, say, job plans or work orders or assets. So in this case, because our issues with regards to job plans, we'll select the job plans. We don't have an error message, or if we did, we could put an error message in there. So again, most of the Maximo error messages begin with BMXAA, and this is just a free-form text field. We then have a question, for the users, did they provide a screenshot of that message? And in this case, they have options here to say yes or no, and they can actually type in NO or type in N tab out, and it will automatically complete that field. One additional field that we have here is security group, and you'll notice I put the words in bracket mandatory. So this field is required in order to proceed. If I do not, the system will display an error message and will require me to be part of this. So if I need to be part of a specific security group, I need to indicate that. So we'll put this as part of the planning security group. Maximo allows you to attach documents, or a web page. So if there was, again, a screenshot for an error message that I captured, I have the ability to click on the attached file and attach that PDF, that doc, or Excel spreadsheet, depending on the attachment types that your organization supports. So you can see here very quickly, one of the things that we've done is we've streamlined the process to enter information. We go up and down, north to south. We are not having the user scroll right to left. We've eliminated the fields that are not required. So to reduce the complexity, the point of this is to have our end users enter tickets, and if we have a complex screen or form, then we're going to have fewer tickets entered in the system. So the whole point, again, is to get the users to enter that information. We have the questions and answers. Again, this is just to help not only IT when they receive this ticket, but also as the users entering this information to provide more details of the particular issue or enhancement. And once they're done, they'll hit submit. And like Maximo, it'll give you a request number. In our case, it's work request 100665. The user will have the ability to view the details of that ticket. So at any point in time, they can come back into the ticket and they can see the information that they had submitted, and or if there are any new updates from the support organization. So as the ticket is generated, a target start, target finish may get applied at the service level that may get applied, as well as an attachment or a log that's submitted by the end users or by the support staff. We'll notice here in the My Work Request screen, once it finishes drawing, that the ticket will be listed here, and we can also view our ticket in that way as well. Just to show you the enhancement behaves exactly the same way. The only difference in this case is that the set of questions that we ask the end user is slightly different. So, we ask, again, for the Maximo application, and then what is the enhancement detail. So we want to make sure that the user provides as much detail as possible. And then maybe through the feedback mechanism, once this enhancement gets reviewed, the support organization or the line of business can put in the feedback if this has been accepted or not accepted. These questions, again, are just questions or answers that we put in from a demo purpose perspective. Within your organization, you can add additional questions or reduce the number of questions that you want to prompt the end users for. I'll actually show you how that's done in just a little bit. So we're not going to bother submitting an enhancement request at this point. We're just going to cancel out, and then we're going to log out of the end user, and we're going to log in as someone from our IT organization. So as we log in from an IT perspective, I've just logged in as myself. So I'm an IT manager or IT support. I have the ability to view the tickets that have been opened up in my organization. So I can see the new IT requests. I can see, as an IT manager, tickets that have been queued and tickets that are in progress. In my inbox on the left-hand side, so we are using workflow to route these tickets. And I have a couple of assignments that have been assigned to the IT manager to assign to either their IT support or their external staff or third-party vendor. In my case, the second one on this list is the service request that I have just opened up, which I don't have access to the job plan. So if we click on that, that will take us to the service request application. When we look at the service request application here, as it finishes loading, you'll notice that, again, for those that maybe are using the service request application today in your organization, this has been, again, cleaned up and fields have been removed that are not necessary. So from an IT management perspective, I can see the user that has reported this ticket. I can see the classification, so it's a Maximo issue. The end user reported priority, as well as based on this classification, we've set an internal priority. As well as in my demo scenario, the IT support or Maximo support is being done by a third party. So we have a vendor that's been associated to this. So this ticket, once approved by the manager, will go to a third party organization. We have the date information down below. And then from a support perspective, we can see the responses that the end user had submitted from the question and answer perspective. So again, we typed in job plan, we had an error message, no attachments were done, and we want to be part of the planning group. Okay. We have some logging information, so as we go through this, we'll see how the log information will get updated. So an IT manager will use the workflow application. So we'll click on the route workflow. They're going to proceed to the next step, which is to either assign the ticket to the contractor to keep the ticket, or maybe the internal IT support will support it and resolve it, or they'll close off this ticket. So we'll proceed, and then as we proceed, we have a number of different options that are provided to the IT manager. So the IT manager can say this issue has been resolved, or they can assign it to an IT contractor, or they can keep it and put it on hold. This becomes more beneficial from an enhancement perspective because not every enhancement is going to get implemented right away. Even from an issue perspective, an organization may want to release a number of issues or enhancements to a third-party contractor, so they may want to hold back on those. So in this case, we'll assign this issue to an IT contractor. And what Maximo will do in this case, or our workflow that we've done for this demonstration, is it will assign this to a third-party contractor. How do I know that? In the select action workflow and view workflow assignments, we can see who that particular ticket has been assigned to. So it's been assigned to OTC support, so that's on-track consulting support. The on-track consulting support will get an email indicating that they have a ticket, so they can log into the system and rectify the issue. So let's go take a look at what that might look like. So we'll sign out here, and we'll log in as OTC support. Now, this could be your internal team. So again, a lead or a manager may assign tickets to their internal support, and they may resolve it. For our demo purposes, we're just using OTC support as a third party. So as that OTC support person comes in, they can see the ticket that's been assigned or tickets that have been assigned to them through their inbox. That user has the ability to now, again, see the same information. They can take that ticket. They can update the work log, so we can say, user has, right? So put a description in there. Maybe there's some additional details we want to put in into that system. If we need to, we can send out an email to the end user, or maybe back to the support people to indicate what is happening with this. So in this case, we can say the service request has been resolved. You'll notice that in the email that will get sent out, there'll be a ticket number with a summary, a description, reported by, phone number and stuff, so and the date that it was closed. So as we go through this, you'll notice that this communication is formatted, so we're leveraging the rich text capabilities in that email so that when the end user or whoever is going to receive that email has a nicely formatted email. And again, we'll talk about how this can be done when we go through the configurations. So I'm not going to bother sending out the email in this case. I don't have email set up on the server, so we'll just cancel out. I just wanted to show you how one would be able to send out that email. So we have a communication log. We'll save that. Let's just assume that the support specialist modified the security group, put the user into the right group, and now they're complete. So again, they put their work log in there, and what they'll do is they'll hit the route workflow. And what the system does is now this is sent it back to the customer, or in our case, the IT manager, for review. So if we'll just sign out here, and I'll log back in as myself. And as I log as myself here, we'll see in the inbox that that ticket will now show up in the inbox. All right. So the IT manager can now review that ticket, and they can review the work log. Okay. Now, one thing that someone may or may not have noticed is there is a status and an ownership. So there are a number of different fields that are in the system, and you can control the statuses as you move through each of the processes. So when we initiated, it was in a Whopper or waiting approved status. It went then to queued, then in progress. When it comes back from the IT support, we may have resolved or some synonym type of status. We're not going to go to resolved up until the IT manager reviews this, and the IT manager will hit, again, the route workflow. As it goes to route workflow, we see the same questions, issues has been resolved. Click on that, and that will complete that process. Again, this workflow process has been created for demonstration purposes. We are using a similar workflow for one of our clients. This does not mean that this is the work process that you would need to implement in your organization. Again, this is for demonstration purposes. So that's sort of from a demonstration perspective. Now what we're going to do is we're going to sort of just go back, and we're going to talk about what are the different components that need to be configured or that were configured in that particular demonstration, and how you can use them in your organization. So the first thing that needs to be set up are your classifications. So we've set up a couple of classifications for Maximo issue, Maximo enhancement, as well as other types for IT issues or work requests. And the reason why we set up these classifications in the service request application or assign it to the service request is to capture data. So classifications, as you know, allow you to define attributes. In this case, we're using attributes to be questions that we want to pose to the end user. One other thought process could be in a help desk is a lot of help desk organizations have scripts. These are a set of questions that a help desk person or service desk agent would ask the end user for information, and these scripts can then in turn be used as attributes inside of the system. A recommendation when you're setting up these attributes is to use the ALN domain type. Reason being is this will keep all the information in one column in that section, which is easier from a flow perspective and not having the user to tab or navigate and figure out which fields are for what kind of data. And typically when you're using, from a Q&A perspective, you don't necessarily need numeric data or table domain type data. You want to use domains where possible. This allows for consistent data entry and reporting on the information that is being submitted by the users or being recorded by your help desk agent. And when you're using the descriptions, use or provide some helpful tips, so that if you are going to have a domain lookup for yes, no, you might want to put in yes, no, or if you are going to make a field required or mandatory, you want to indicate that in the description so that the user is aware of that instead of having an error message pop up on their screen. So what does that look like? Again, we'll just jump back into the Maximo here for a second. We'll look at the classifications application, and I'll show you what the max issue. So we provide a classification name along with a description. We identify the objects that it's used with. So this is used with a service request and ticket template application. And then we define the attributes. So we define an attribute name, which in Maximo is an 8-character name, followed by a description. So it's a description is what we're actually using from an end user perspective in the display of the SR or Create SR application. You'll notice that I have domains on a couple of fields, as well as I made them all alphanumeric. Now, over on the right-hand side, you have this little icon over here, which is the use with object detail. So what this allows you to do is, as you're defining your attributes, you can, one, define the order that the attributes will display when they are in the specifications, as well as you can identify if they are mandatory for that particular field. And you can also use the results of the value used in the for those attributes to generate the description. So in this case, you'll notice that I do not have use and generate description because there's no need to, and I don't have mandatory, and then I have my sequence number. So as I go through each one of these, I've defined the sequence that I want to display them in, again, to the end users. And you have the ability to modify or change that as need be. You'll notice on this one here, I have a yes-no domain. So again, a good practice would be to update the description of that field to indicate yes or no on that particular field. This last one, I believe I made mandatory. Oh, I did not, so let's just check off the mandatory. So on the next time, it will be mandatory in there. And again, I've made the description mandatory. So what that does is, again, just gives a helpful tip to the end user, indicating that they have a mandatory field in the system. Okay. So we set up our classifications. The next thing we do is we set up our ticket templates. Ticket templates are similar to job plans. They're templates that are to be used on a repeatable fashion. They help, in this case, to pre-fill the ticket. And they can be applied to the quick insert portlet or actions inside of the Start Center portlet. So you'll find the ticket template application under Service Desk and Ticket Templates. And you notice, again, I got a template here. I'm assigning it to an owner group. I've assigned a priority to that. So if you recall, the end user submitted it as a reported priority 3, but in our case, we're setting it as an internal priority 4. I've set my vendor, and then I've set my classification for this particular type. And then if I go to the specification tab and see my questions. If I navigate to the next record, or the previous record, which is my Maximo enhancement, you can see the questions that I'm asking there. And then in the template, the difference here is I have a priority change that's slightly different, and then my classification is different as well. So the next step after this is to now associate the quick insert action on a Start Center. So on a Start Center, there's a quick insert portlet. Quick insert portlet allows you to create new record types. And in our case, we're using the create new service request. And based on that, we're going to apply the ticket templates. Now, ticket templates can only be applied to ticket-based applications, which is the SR, service request, create SR, incident, and problem ticket types. We'll just jump back into Maximo. We'll go to our Start Center here. We'll just take a look at the Start Center for this particular user, and you'll notice that I have a number of new actions here, so new project, new service request, and the applications in some cases are the same, and the only differentiating is the template ID. So Maximo allows you to add multiple actions of the same type. The thing, though, that you do have to do is change the description of that particular action, and again, it's a good practice to tie in the ticket template. So that's what allowed the end user earlier to click on the ticket where some of the information and that classification and those attributes were automatically filled in. So once you've done that, the next step is your application designer. So we're not going to go into this, but you know, really what this is all about in application designer is configuring the look and feel of the form. So remove or hide any unnecessary files or fields, remove any tabs that aren't needed. My recommendation is to align all the mandatory or required fields to the left side. So if you like the left and right-hand navigation, try to keep everything on the left side. Reason being is most users may tab out of fields, and the tab will always go from top to bottom or north to south before it goes over to any sections that you may have on the right-hand side. And also take the time to modify any labels that are applicable to your organization. In a lot of cases, Maximo is catered to an open style or to a standard from, in this case, an ITIL perspective or various ISO regulations. So the terminology may not be specific to your organization. So take the time, because it's very easy in Maximo, to configure labels or modify labels for existing fields. The next one is the workflow. So from a workflow perspective, again, we won't go through workflow. Maybe we'll have a future webcast on how to create workflows, modify workflows. But one thing that I'll point out is, you know, in our workflow, what we had is you have the ability when you're assigning a task or an assignment to an individual or to a group of people, you have the flexibility to modify what that description is. So as it appears in the person's inbox, you'll notice in this case it's not the standard out-of-the-box description that says something's been assigned to you. So we actually have the work request number with a description, and then I'm using the pipe symbols to actually separate the description that the end user provided when they submitted the ticket, and then just some additional text at the end of that. So workflow has the ability to define various node types. So we are looking in our workflow in the first column there, or actually the third column where it says is a work IT issue. So I'm looking based on the classification. We have some input nodes. We have some assignment nodes. And if you recall, we have the ability to put a record on hold. So we have a wait node here, which is basically waiting for that trigger to come out of that hold condition so that we can have workflow continue where it last left off. We talked about communication templates, and I showed you how, you know, through the process we can initiate a email to the end user, and whereby we use the rich text formatting to make that email look a little bit more nicer or presentable to the end user. One of the things that I like to do is I'll use Microsoft Word. I'll use the table capability inside of Word. I'll mock up my my screen. I can, as you may know, in tables you can define your borders, your shading, in your sizing. Make that, you know, do that in Word, and then I can copy paste that table from Word into the communication template application. So again, just gives me a nice look, feel, a cleaner look and feel when we're sending out emails to the end user. again, trying to focusing on the end users and making the system more friendly. And so, before you start, if you want to implement something similar to this in your organization, some things to consider before you go and implement this is, define or lay out the questions that you want to ask your end user. So if you're going to have Maximo issues, or you could have other types of requests that you can be submitted to, say, job plan related issues, PM related issues, asset data related issues. These can all be separate classifications and attributes. You can create asset or classification hierarchies. So basically spend the time writing down what is the questions that you want to ask, what are the attributes you need to have. And again, most organizations or some organizations may have scripts, and this is usually a very good starting point in implementing this. Determine which of those attributes require or should have a standard response, and that's where you're going to define your domains. So where possible, define your domains. Determine if you need new statuses. So, one of the statuses that I talked about was a hold status. So I'm not a proponent of adding multiple statuses. I've gone into a lot of organizations and I've seen 10, 15, 20 statuses. Again, try to keep it simple and only add statuses as necessary. Understand what it is as a business that you want to implement, either issues or enhancements, from an approval perspective or an assignments perspective, and determine what that business process is, which will then in turn make it a little bit easier to implement your workflow. When you're creating communications, please do not have a communication for every instance or change within the records. You saw how the end user through the Start Center has the ability to view their request. So don't think that you need to send out a communication every time a status is changed or an update has been performed. So be selective, but also enhance your communication templates so that it is easier for the end user to read and see. And lastly, keep it simple. You'll notice that as I went through, I simplified the application forms. Did not discourage the user by asking too many questions or making too many questions mandatory. The whole point of this is we want the end users to submit their feedback, submit their issues to improve the usability of Maximo. So therefore, by keeping it simple, it makes it easier for the end users to do that. So this concludes today's webcast. I want to thank all of you who attended today. We trust that you found this webcast of interest and of value to your organization. If you would like a copy of the presentation in PowerPoint, please feel free to send me an email. My email is listed on the page here. Thank you very much for your time and interest. We look forward to meeting you again online at the next webcast in this series. Thank you and have a great day.